This is how you make overviews for maps in the game Day of Defeat. When you go in the game, you will bring up console, you'll turn on SV Cheats, and Dev Overview 2 will bring up the map in overview mode so that you can take a screenshot. You will also need to hide your HUD and hide the view models, and you may also need to hide your mini-map and netgraph. And you're going to want to be in 1024 by 768 because that's the size you're going to need anyway. So instead of resizing, you might as well just be in 1024 by 768. And if you're in widescreen, you'll run into issues with parts of the map being clipped anyway. So I'll show you that in a second. Once you take the screenshot with Dev Overview 2, you can switch to Dev Overview 1, and this is where you copy the numbers that accompany the text file. So this is the built-in Anzio map, and it has an accompanying text file with some values for the game to know how to position everything and where your character is on the map. So the Dev Overview 1 will get you the values for this. So open Day of Defeat, and then go to the map you want to make the overview for. I'm going to redo Anzio's because I don't like the built-in one that they made. So join a team, it doesn't matter which team. One of the reasons you need to join a team is these black bars at the top and bottom will be in your screenshot if you're in spectator mode, and there's no way of getting rid of the bottom bar by modifying the resource files like you can get rid of the top bar. So once you are in the game, then you can turn on SV Cheats and Dev Overview 2, and as you can see, things still don't look right, and part of that is because the mini-map is still up there in the top right corner. So CL underscore minimap 0 will get rid of that, and now you see the overview map, but as you can see there's still some problems. In the top left, the axis spawn is clipped, the HUD is still in the way, the crosshair is still in the way, and in the bottom right I have netgraph turned on. So to turn off netgraph, do netgraph 0, and HUD draw 0 will get rid of your HUD. And the instructions also say R draw view model, but I don't see anything in the way of that anyway, but we'll do it just in case. So now that the axis spawn is clipped, we don't want to take the screenshot here. So let me quickly, I have all these values in a executable. Let me quickly go into options, and you can't be in widescreen or stuff gets clipped, so you switch to normal, and 1024 by 768 is the size you want the screenshot to be in, so you might as well switch to that. And I also like to do run in a window. My system will crash if I'm in display mode normal and not run in a window, so I run in a window regardless. Whether you have to or not, I'm not certain, but I do. So now that I'm in the proper resolution, well, it crashed my game anyway. Sometimes I have to use the launch parameters to get it to work. So we'll do that now. This is another way if you have issues. If you have issues with the game crashing when you switch your resolution or to windowed mode, you can go into Steam, you can right click on Day of Defeat and go to Properties, and then go here to Launch Options in General, and you could add windowed 1024 by 768. I have my own in there as well, but you'll need to change it to that if it doesn't work normally. So now we'll go back in, and these SV Cheats, Dev Overview 2, HUD Draw 0, Minimap 0, Netgraph 0, I have them all saved in a config file that I made, so I don't have to type them all manually each time. So join a team to get rid of the black bars. And then once you're on a team, you can type in all of those commands, the SV Cheats, Dev Overview 2, HUD Draw 0, Minimap 0, Netgraph 0, and just simply take a screenshot, and that'll go into your DoD folder. So we'll X out of here. If your config's read-only, you won't need to change these back, but if you have a non-read-only config, you're going to have to change those back. And when you go into your DoD folder here, there'll be a screenshot, and there is your overview, but there's some things we have to do to it. If you load this into the game as is, the game won't recognize it, so there's some things we have to do to it. And the two programs I use to do that are GIMP and mspaint. You might be able to do everything in one step if you have something like Photoshop or whatnot, but those are the two I use. So I will load this up in GIMP. And the first thing you need to do is go to mode and switch from RGB to index. So image mode indexed. And make sure maximum number of colors is 256, which should be by default, and hit convert. Now you should make sure by using the color picker that this color, you click on it and then you click on the color. It should be 00FF00 under HTML notation. 100% green, 0 red, 0 blue, because pure green is the color that DoD uses for transparency. So if it is not pure green, you will need to change it to pure green. It might just be like, one letter off or something like this. Oops. And that won't work with DoD. It has to be pure green. So one thing I like to do, and this is optional, I'll go like this and I'll switch the background color to a different color, and if you zoom in, you see there's still some green line edges around it, and those will show up because these aren't the pure green. So the only way to really get rid of those is to go through and manually use a pencil tool or a fill tool and back them all out. I'm not going to sit here and back them all out in this video, but that is what you'll need to do to get rid of them. So then once they're all backed out, what I do is I go into colors, map, and color exchange. So in here, I will pick my orange color that I overwrote the green with, and then I will pick pure green from in here and hit OK, and it'll convert all that orange back to pure green. That way, if you try and do it while the background's pure green, it'll be really hard to see where those lines are since they're such a similar color. So I go through and I manually remove all those green lines and make any other additions I want. See, I didn't want the ocean in here. I could, delete that and make it this pure green color as well. And once it's the way you want it, I like to save off a copy of the GIMP file in case I need to make changes later. I don't have to go through and take the screenshot and remove all those green lines again. So I'll save off a copy of the GIMP file for that so I can pick up where I left off. And for this particular one, there's still a lot of green lines I need to get rid of. Now the next step is you have to convert it to a BMP because that is what DoD is expecting. So you go to Export As, and by default it's going to be PNG. Scroll all the way down to BMP, hit Export. Make sure there's no compatibility option here, and hit Export. And then go find your file here, DoD Anzio BMP. Here's your new overview. This was the original screenshot. So for whatever reason, GIMP, the way it saves or exports the BMP, it doesn't hold that 256 color properly. So as a workaround, you have to open this in mspaint, go to File, Save As, BMP, and make sure the save as type is 256 color bitmap. And then you can just overwrite that exact file with this new mspaint file. Don't change anything in here. If you mess with stuff in mspaint, it'll mess up the transparency for some reason. So do this just to convert it to a working version for DoD. So replace that, and now you have your Anzio BMP. You can go into Overviews, make a backup of the one that came with it. We're going to do the text file part in a second, so we'll make a copy of that as well. make this a backup. And I'll show you how to do this part in a second. We'll go get our new overview, put it in the overviews folder. And now we have to modify the text file. So I'll show you how to get these values. They might be accurate already, but you should always query them just in case to make sure you have the correct ones. So we'll go back into Anzio. We will put our overview settings in place. And this time, Dev Overview 2 is the one that brings up the overview of the map for you to take a screenshot. Dev Overview 1 gives you the values for that text file. So I just click in here and I hit Control A because it's like infinitely scrolling. So even if I hit Control A a bunch of times, it just keeps scrolling. But I hit Control A and then I right click and do copy. And then I come in here and I paste the values, and you only need one of these lines because they're identical. So in this file, anything that with a // at the beginning of the line is a comment. So like up here, you see overview description file for duty underscore anzio.bsp. This is all optional comments. So once you're in here, and if you're doing this for a new map, you can just mimic one of the existing ones like Anzio and just replace it with your own values. Zoom maps to zoom. So we'll replace that. This origin stuff in parentheses maps to this origin, but you've got to make sure you delete the commas. If you just copy and paste this up here and you forget to delete the commas, it won't work. And when you go to test this, and always test it, bring up the console and it'll give you error messages. So when you get error messages, you'll realize you did something wrong. And the main thing I usually do wrong is either forgetting to delete the commas or forgetting to do the mspaint step where I convert it back to 256 colors. So rotate it to 0, rotate it to 0. And then down here, this has to be the path to the image, which is usually, pretty standard. You use mapname.bmp in the overviews folder. I wouldn't recommend doing anything else with that. But make sure this is the map name, the correct map name if you copied a file from another map. And for height, you want the Z max. So you come down here and you copy the Z max value and you put it in height. And sometimes I'll leave the raw values in there, but usually just delete them. Some people like to get credit for what they did. We'll do like overview by their name here. But like I said, this is all optional, anything with the comments. So you save that off, and now we will quit out and we will reload in and test out our new Anzio overview. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that I don't have any of those overview settings on, and then I will bring up the map and we'll try it out. So as you can see, I didn't remove all the green lines, so there's still plenty of green lines on this overview. It's kind of a tedious process, but I do recommend removing those green lines. And sometimes the terrain will match colors in the overview, and it can make it hard to see at certain times. So I also sometimes like to put a background color behind it. But as you can see here, we can zoom in and out. Make sure that everything's mapped properly. Like I walk around a little bit, make sure my little indicator lines up with where I am on the map. Make sure the flags are where they are. And you can bring down console, and there'll be error messages in here if you did something wrong. So the way I do the background color, in case you wanted to do that, bring this back up in GIMP. I like to leave as much transparency as possible, so I'll take the selection tool and I'll highlight just the part where there's stuff. And then I will pick a background color. We'll use this ugly orange just as an example. And I go back to that colors map color exchange, and I take the transparency color and I swap it out with some background color that I choose. And that way the excess won't have a background color. This will be transparent up here, but around the actual stuff you'll have a nice background that'll make it so it won't blend in with the terrain. This orange probably wasn't a good idea because it kind of blends in with the colors of the roofs everywhere, but you could pick a color like a light gray or a white or whatever color you choose. And so this is what I call like the default style that the game produces. And as you can see by the originals that come with it, if we bring up what was originally there, a lot of the map makers or overview makers like to put their own little design on it. But a lot of people some people like this like wireframe look, but some people like what I call the default view. So this is what I call like the original overview that comes with the map that the map maker or some overview maker made, and this is what I call the default view, the one that you can screenshot when you're in Dev Overview too. But there's nothing stopping you, and this is probably how the map maker initially did it. They output one that looked like this, and then they went through and painstakingly drew all this other stuff on it. So as you can see, most of the built-in ones kind of follow this same pattern. So if you want ones that look like this, you can go through and make your own, and you can do whatever. You can grab the pencil tool if you want to draw a little like sun in here for the sundial. You can modify it however you please. And that is how you make Dave Defeat overviews.